And joining me now is Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, who serves on the Foreign Relations and Armed Services Committee. The White House senator says that the unidentified objects could be for commercial or academic research, that's the leading theory now, benign. Some lawmakers are asking if these small objects were really a threat. Were they worth the price, millions of dollars, of shooting them down? Did they overreact?
Andrea, I don't think they overreacted, but it definitely means we've got to get some answers, because even if the intelligence community determines they're benign, they're still flying at a level that could interfere with commercial aviation. So they shouldn't be there. So where should they be? What are the rules? Are the rules enforced? As you get into high altitudes in space, we still don't have, rules of the road necessarily. And we're putting more and more satellites in space for military or research or communications purposes, vastly more than we've ever done before. It just points out the need for more rules.
Did you get your questions answered in yesterday's classified briefing? Because a lot of your colleagues came out and said, both parties, they were not satisfied. I talked to Jeanne Shaheen, we heard from Mark Warner, Rubio, a lot of the others, that they thought their briefing could have been made public, 95% of it, and that it was not answering their questions.
Andrea, so I got to be careful because it was classified, but I would say let's separate the two instances. On the Chinese spy balloon, my questions have generally been answered, but I'm going to come back to a big worry in a sec. We're real proud that it was taken down by a jet out of Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, and the rescue mission to recover items is also out of Virginia. That's great. I did get my questions generally answered about that, but there's not enough information yet to really provide answers on the other three items. But here's my biggest worry, and this was a question I asked that I have not gotten a good answer to, but it doesn't really get into the classified space, so I'll share it with you as I have shared it. Why didn't the Chinese military officials pick up Secretary Lloyd Austin's phone call when he's calling to try to discuss what's going on? I mean, as you know, during the Cold War, as tough as it was between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, there was communication because both nations realized what we don't want to do is to have an accident, miscalculation, unnecessary escalation, and you avoid that with communication channels. There were repeated efforts to reach out to the Chinese. The Chinese wouldn't pick up the phone. We had an armed services hearing today that was open, and I asked some China experts about this, and they say they tend to think mechanisms like communications lines more work to the U.S.'s advantage than China's. But I challenged them on that. I said, wait, China wants stability. They've often shown by their behavior that they want stability rather than chaos. Communication promotes stability, even if not agreement. So why is the diplomatic relationship at a point where China won't answer a phone call? This is the thing that troubles me the most out of this, and that we have to really work to improve communication channels just so that we avoid accidents and miscalculations.
And actually, China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, has confirmed he's going to Munich to the security conference the next day or so. Secretary Blinken will be there. I'm going to cover it. So maybe that communication issue and this can be resolved. But they said today, again, that that the U.S. has overreacted and that it drifted in. It was not being steered, that it was an accident, a mistake, that Chinese balloon drifted in. Do you think that's accurate?
Well, I'm suspicious of that. If this was a vehicle that had a steering capacity, so might it have drifted because of prevailing winds? Yes, but they also had the ability to maneuver it, and they either chose not to, or maybe it malfunctioned and they were unable to. But this is not, a balloon with no propulsion. This is something they have the ability to maneuver. And what we know is it came into the United States and they didn't. I mean, it was news when it was in Montana. Why didn't they maneuver it back north and take it out of U.S. airspace to just show that, if it was an accident, they could have taken a step to show that it was an accident. So there are still some questions that we don't know. But I am, as you pointed out, I am hopeful that at the Munich Security Forum, the foreign minister and secretary of state can have a dialogue, because, again, as competitive as this relationship is, even adversarial on occasion, communication is necessary to avoid unintentional miscalculations, which, as you know, the global history is filled with unintentional miscalculations that led to disasters. For our own safety and for the security of the world, we need to try to reduce the risk of accident.
And the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, was interviewed exclusively by my colleague Courtney Kube in Brussels today about these unidentified objects. Let's watch.
I'm not aware of any additional objects that have been reported operating in the space in the last 48 hours. So, but in terms of whether or not the debris is important, it's absolutely important. And we're going to do everything we can to recover debris if it's possible. That will help us learn a lot more about, what these objects are.
And that was, of course, Lloyd Austin at the news conference. He's about to sit down right now with Courtney Kube. We'll have that, of course, on MSNBC later in the day. But what information are you hoping that we can learn from, that you want to learn from the Chinese and from the intelligence community now?
Yeah. First, I mean, there's alternate explanations for the last three instances. Is it connected to China's surveillance program, or is it potentially, again, commercial, university research, benign uses? And again, it's not completely benign if it's in civilian airspace. It poses a risk. But exactly whose platforms were these? That's very important. And then you learn, okay, if they're benign platforms, but they're operating in civilian airspace in ways that would pose danger to civilian aircraft, what kind of signaling should they have? What kind of permission should they get to be operating in an airspace where they could conflict with civilian air operations? Andrew, this might not have been a challenge, 50 years ago or even 20 or 10 years ago. We're just putting so much more up into the atmosphere and space that we have to have a rigorous protocol to keep people safe. So if it's not a part of the Chinese program, then we have to understand why were they there and what changes do we need to make to ensure everyone's safety.
We only have a few seconds left, but I know that you think that this time, after years, you're going to get a bipartisan coalition to repeal the war resolution, the authorization for the use of force in 1991 and 2002.
Andrea, I've been a little bit like Senator Sisyphus on this. I keep pushing the bill up the hill to have it roll back. But I have a really amazing Republican co-partner, Todd Young, and 22 senators, 11 Democrats, 11 Republicans, and a sizable and very bipartisan group of sponsors on the House side. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq in March of 2003. And there now seems to be some sense Iraq's not an enemy anymore. They're a partner working against Iranian aggression, working against ISIS. Let's repeal the war authorization and acknowledge the current reality.
Senator Tim Kaine, as always, thank you so much.